He even failed to turn up for his own coronation as emperor, which did little to endear him to the Pope. Wenceslas the Idle did not impress the imperial nobility either. His difficulties mounted until the nobles, exasperated by the inaction of their ruler, turned for help to his half-brother, King Sigismund of Hungary. Sigismund decided on a radical solution. He kidnapped the king to force him to abdicate, then took advantage of the ensuing disorder to gain greater power for himself. He invaded Bohemia with a massive army and began pillaging the territory.
I'm sorry I can't tell you everything, but maybe we can work something out. But first I'd like to hear something about you, my son. With whom do I have the honor? Where are you from?
I'm from Skalitz.
Oh, I'm sorry. What about your kin?
They're dead.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Here, we'll drink to them. It must have been terrible.
It was terrible. It seemed so pointless. We had no warning. They just appeared and began the slaughter. God knows why. They killed anyone who didn't make it to the shelter of the castle. My parents, my girl, even the Deutsch who was on... I didn't make it to the castle. I wanted to try and help my parents, but there was nothing I could do. Then I fled to Talmberg with the Cumans on my hip. They almost killed me. They slaughtered people in the surrounding villages. There's a pile of bodies in front of the church in Rovna. Folk who tried to take refuge there.
My poor child. May God grant them eternal rest. And how did you come to get this assignment? I'd have expected Sir Hanish to send that old grouch, Bernard.
He did, but I found a witness and the trail led here to Ujitz, so he sent me here to follow it up.
Ah, well, congratulations. It's nice to see someone using their head to find things out instead of torture. What? Now the most important thing. What actually happened at Noyo? The good folks hereabout are saying all kinds of terrible things. But
The rumors aren't exaggerated this time, unfortunately. The Neuhof stud farm was raided by bandits, but they didn't come to pillage or even take the horses. They only wanted to kill. They maimed the horse. I'm sure they would have killed more, but the bandits quarreled among themselves and broke off the attack. And judging by what's left of our Lubov...
I see it's every bit as bad as people claimed. Well then, here's to those poor souls who...
I've told you all about me. Now it's your turn, Father. You don't look much like our parish priest at home. I noticed you're pretty handy with a sword. I wouldn't expect that of a man of the cloth.
You know what they say. The Lord moves in...
But this is a bit more mysterious than others.
Let's just say I haven't always been a priest. Fate led me to places where affairs were settled by force. These days, of course, it's just a bit of exercise.
I noticed you're pretty handy with a sword. I wouldn't expect that.
You know what they say.
But this is a...
Let's just say these days, of...
Well, we've had an agreeable chat, but now let's get down to business.
I'd like a beer.
So, about this confessional seal. Do you really want more innocent people to die?
Henry, that's not how it works. There are matters in which you can't make exceptions because if you do it once, if people stop believing in the church because their confessional secrets are betrayed, they won't trust anyone, and that's worse.
I understand, but that means I've reached a dead end. Those cutthroats will strike again, and I can't stop.
Chin up, lad. I might have a solution.
What?
Here, enjoy.
If I tell you what Lubos told me, I'd be betraying the confessional secret. But, first thing tomorrow...
Word of honor?
On my soul.
I always wondered about the things a priest tells his congregation. Where do you get the ideas?
Well, Ujits isn't Prague. It's not enough to instruct people. They have to be entertained, too. If I only read from the...
Our priest wasn't exactly a bard. So what?
It has to be something topical. Condemning vices. And a tongue lashing about the two popes goes down well these days. And especially if they're about fornication and similar scandals.
Can you give me an example?
Well, recently a priest by the name of Jan Hus started preaching in Prague, in the Czech language, and I hear he always has a full house. A journeyman who heard him told me what Hus is preaching, and I like the sound of it. I'm thinking about putting it in my own repertoire.
What's so amazing about it?
The preaching of Master Jan Hus, the lamentable wealth in which the church is drowning has turned to poison, just like a flock of... They don't know mercy. You want to baptize a child? Pay. You want to steal and murder? Pay and you will have absolute. What if the devil himself were to pay? Would he ascend to heaven too? With such money gained from the poor, they buy beautiful horses to ride and needless servants to pamper them. They gamble at dice and dress their... While Jesus Christ walked barefoot and had no... Look to your consciences, you robbers of the... Amen!
Well, this Jan Hus character is quite a...
Oh, the congregational...
I don't doubt it.
Let's drink to that.
Funny. That last bit...
What do you mean? My situation's completely different. Huth preaches against the prelates and the clerics who are robbing the poor. Look at me. I'm one with them in poverty and suffering.
I'll bring it right away. Coming right up.
Don't you think it's a bit odd when someone boozes and lives in sin with a woman and then criticises the Pope for...
No, I don't.
What do you think of this? Yeah.
He's certainly a wise man. A little over... If he got out of Prague and came here for a look, I'm sure he'd stop condemning...
Where can I find out more about his teachings?
You like it? I copied down some of his sermons. If you're interested, you can read them at...
What do the common folk think?
They like it. In a few years, it'll have grown...
Yeah, unless they burn him at the stake first.
Nonsense.
Thanks for the sermon, but I think I've been morally uplifted enough. Oh, it's getting quite late. What are your plans?
What do you suppose? We have a drink, of course.
Ah, that sounds like a good plan.
I knew you wouldn't let me down.
Przyszła bida mora lat, to nie ustoi żadnej chlap. Na kraj padł dziesnej smutek, dodnielo i rano utek, niech ich małżeński majsat, do wczera żylne staje prach. Už sej bojí svatý muži, nechtěl bych bejbě jich muži. Nám je to jedno a tak si dáme jedno a požerem si huby jako poslední jen. Buďme se vámi, ano ráda s vámi, a tak vypal sumy a posaď se mi sem. Tak posaď se sem a vypal je ven. Ukaž kozy jako vozy, zítra jen tu soudnej den, tak nalej mi hned, ať točí se svět.
Enough of this. Bailiff,
Come on over here, sit down and have a drink with us.
Don't vex me again, Father. It's 3 hours past dusk, and curfew is long gone.
So what?
So, I'll have you all whipped and put in the stocks, and I'll write a letter to the bishop about you, priest.
Well, nothing to worry about then. Everyone knows the only one around here who can write is me.
Enough! Men, throw them out.
Oh, come on. You looking for a fight?
Henry, back me up.
You're dead. Yeah! Ow!
So, my dear, would you like to have a little ring on the bell? No sooner said than done.
I'd love to. And Henry, too, I'm sure. Right, Henry?
Stop that nonsense, Godwin. Are you out of your mind? What will people say?
They can say what they like. What do I care? What do they do to me? Watch this. Here we are. Look at this beauty.
Oh. We can't do this, can we?
Who says? Get ringing, wench.
This is wonderful.
Ah, bloody oath. And now, my dears, comes the climax of the evening.
Godwin, you old goat.
Come here. Oh.
The priest has mounted up. What do you say, Henry? Shall we take a little ride of our own?
Well, I have to say that was a fine evening.
Godwin, you beast! Get up! Do you hear me? Wake up, you drunkards!
Oh, fucking hell. Where the... Oh, what the... Oh, who the hell are you? Oh, Henry. My great friend, Henry. Didn't we have a wonderful time?
Well, you certainly did, you old lecher. Now you better pull yourself together quick. You haven't much time. There's some water and something to eat on the table there, but if I were you, I would move my hairy arse before my flock eats me alive.
Oh, step on my head. My guts. Oh, my poor suffering stomach. Oh, what was that woman on about? Before my flock eats me alive. I've forgotten something. What have I forgotten?
Where the fuck am I?
What the fuck was it? Oh. Mass! Oh shit, I have to say mass. I gotta say mass. You have to help me.
How? You're the priest.
I can't do it in this state. Maybe the liturgy. But I have to give a sermon as well. Oh, this is a disaster. They're gonna excommunicate me.
I'd like to help you, but...
You can. You can do the sermon for me.
What? So, first I investigate a murder no one wants investigated. Then I drunkenly keep the whole town up all night. And now you want me to preach at them from the pulpit? Do you want them to burn us at the stake?
No. No, I've got it. Suppose that Sir Ratzig's protege. You just came from studying in Prague. And you want to share the words of Master Jan Hus, who you recently heard preaching there. Henry, look, from what I remember, we might have overdone it a bit last night. And if the bailiff or someone else complains about me, the bishop's gonna have my guts for garters. So I'd appreciate it. Stop gaping at me like a stuffed squirrel and start helping.
You're mad. You're stark raving mad.
I'm not. It's a perfect plan. It's flawless. Oh. How about this? If you help me with this, I'll tell you who Lubosh's cronies are.
So all at once the confessional seal isn't so safe.
Don't mock me. I won't...
Well, all right.
No, neither can I.
What do you want me to do exactly?
I'll go and start the liturgy. Then I'll introduce you. You give the sermon I told you yesterday in the town. No need to drag it out. If it turns out well...
Christ almighty.
Wonderful. Let...
Hey, look out! Folk
Be a bit more careful.
Huh? Look where you're going.
never show up. The swill.
Look at him. He can hardly walk after his capers last night.
You were with them, you beast. Just you wait.
Look at him. Mother of God, any minute now he'll throw up.
So I couldn't sleep a wink last night with all that clamor.
In nomine Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Accepit panem in sanctas at venerabiles a manus suas. Hac facite in meam commemorationem.
Brothers and sisters, you may have had the honor of meeting Henry from Skalitz, who is here at the behest of Sir Hanush to investigate that heinous crime at Neuhof. You might not know that Henry recently visited Prague, where, by the grace of God, was able to hear Master Jan Hus from the esteemed Charles University preaching. I've managed to persuade Henry to stand here today in my stead and tell us what he heard. Because, as you all probably know, Jan Hus is a very popular preacher in Prague. So, Henry, you may begin.
Now I'm curious which one of them will puke first.
Brothers and sisters, let me get straight to the point. I'd like to talk about the church and how corrupt it is.
That boy has a cheek.
Creation has given to every man the power by which he might rule the whole world. But that power does not give him the right to rule. That right belongs to God alone. It is the corruption of God's pastors here on earth that has brought misfortune on our heads. Plague, humans, hunger, and chaos. And it is all due to the corrupt servants of God who do not practice what they preach. They think sins can be washed away by money, and they sell indulgences, and that's bad. Because sins cannot be redeemed with silver.
Prague didn't do much for his confidence.
It is the custom of the gluttonous prelates and monks to preach against sin. But what do they know of us ordinary folk? Let us remember the marriage at Cana, where our Lord Jesus Christ himself feasted with the other guests and drank his fill. And when the wine was gone, he performed a miracle and created more. He, whose companions were poor travellers, simple folk, prostitutes and troublemakers, performed a miracle so the feast could continue.
Now that's the kind of sermon I like to hear.
No, brothers and sisters. Jesus did not condemn alcohol. Drink to lighten the cross you bear in this vale of tears, but not with such abandon that you cannot keep holy the Sabbath. For there should be moderation in all things, and it is not drinking itself that is sinful, but intemperance and beastly indulgence.
He's right.
Enough about sin, which the prelates are so fond of preaching about, and whose absolution they promise if you only pay enough coin to Mother Church. What if the devil himself were to pay? Will the bishops tell us he too would ascend to heaven? And what about those bishops? They sin without remorse, and with the money grasped from the poor for indulgences, they keep fine horses and hordes of servants to pamper them. They played dice and garbed their mistresses in expensive furs, while Christ, the Lamb of God, walked barefoot and had nowhere to lay his head. Look to your consciences, you robbers of the poor, for you are seen by God and his people too.
Down with the pellets! Away with them!
We're fortunate to have our good father Godwin. At least he's a fair and simple man.
I say to you, in the words of Jan Hus, he who knows much, let him speak much. He who knows little, let him speak little. Let each speak as much as he knows, and he who knows nothing, let him at least teach his neighbour one virtuous deed by setting him good example and refraining from playing dice and from fornication. And that applies both to priests and to you, brothers and sisters.
That's his conclusion.
That is all I heard in Prague. Amen.
The lad spoke well, considering what a soak he is.
He's right, that Hus.
The young man shouldn't drink so much, but the Lord's given him a
I'm
silver
glad he
tongue.
came here. I don't suppose I'll ever get to Prague, and he told it nicely.
Well, well, my boy, you have talent, and I can't deny it. And you pulled a thorn from my side. I almost didn't make it.
Yeah, I noticed. I wasn't the only one.
Oh, what's to be done? I'll make it up somehow.
So, about our bargain.
Although it's a sin.
So gluttony and fornication.
God does forgive a penitent.
So, what did Limpy Lubosh tell you? Was he at Neuhof that day? Who was with him? And where are they now?
Now, slow down. I'm sorry, but he didn't tell me that much.
Don't let me down after all I've been through. For you...
Well, now Lubosh came to me shortly after it happened. His conscience was gnawing at him. And I must say, in the end, he turned out to be a better man than he looked. He said they'd been hired through some crony of theirs. And at first they were just to steal some horses. But then it all turned sour and people started getting killed. And neither he nor his cronies wanted anything to do with that. So they fell out from the gang and fled.
Fell out? Yeah, there was a body found in the woods by Neuhof.
That would explain something. Lubosh kept jabbering that he wasn't a murderer, that he didn't want to do it.
So I know that Lubosh killed the murderer and he's dead too. The trouble is, I need to find the ones who are still alive. I need names and places. Did he mention any of the others?
Only nicknames. Talked about some fella called Riki from Ledechko, Pius, Timmy.
Pius. That lot are about as pious as I am ordained.
Nonsense. You would make an excellent priest. And anyhow, with your skills, you ought to be able to sniff out this Riki from Ledechko, right?
Well, we'll have to now. There's not much else to go on. Let's hope he's not hanging from the wall too.
Indeed. And I'd hate to be excommunicated for nothing. Anyhow, good luck. You watch out for yourself. These people clearly mean business. And I'd like to raise a tankard with you again sometime.
Yeah, I'll try. Although I'm not sure I'd survive another night of your debauchery.
And if anyone should ask, you heard nothing from me. I'll deny everything.
I don't doubt it.
I'd like to know... That's all. So, how have you been?
I can't stop thinking about Skalitz.
I know. It was hell. But life has to go...
What do you mean?
Do you feel like a walk?
That's not a bad idea. I've got lots to do right now. But I'd love to go another time. Will you come and see me again?
As her ladyship commands?
You jester.
I've brought you something.
Oh, Hal. Is this for me? This must have cost you a fortune. But I like it very much, thank you. You really mustn't bring me any more gifts like that, or you'll spoil me.
What now? Shall we take a walk?
You don't give up, do you? Well, let me think. I've got lots to do right now. But I'd love...
As her ladyship commands?
You just...
God be with you. What can I do for you?
I've got some goods here whose owners might...
All right.
Jesus, not as shallow as it looks.
Hey, look out!
Yeah! 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 Good! Yeah! 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 Yeah!
Good day to you. What do you need?
I'm looking for a fellow called Riki. Do you know him?
You mean Hinek? He's the tanner's son, isn't he?
Any idea where I could find him?
Oh, I don't know. I try at his folks' house, but he doesn't spend...
So you know this Hinek. Can you tell me something
Well, not much, I confess.
Why's that?
Well, no one with a nose like...
What can you tell me about the old courier?
He's as cantankerous as a hog in a thorn bush.
Why do they call Hinek...
He's a tanner, isn't he? If you ever get down...
True enough, but...
Well, Hinek's nature's no sweeter than his...
Why has he got such a bad...
Well, like his old man, he doesn't talk much to anyone. I heard he got a taste...
So a bit more than high spit.
Just so.
Don't tell me there's not a single person who talks to him.
What? Is there something you need?
What What can you tell me about this Hinek?
What can I tell you? No, he's none too
Why not?
Well, I'm not one to gossip.
What's the Tanner like? Hinek's
The less I see of...
Why do they call him
Why do you think?
So why don't people like him?
The old Tanner's not an easy man.
And does no one at all talk to him?
That harlot Adela hangs around with him.
Harlot?
She works as a bathhouse wench. Hey, look out! What's going on out there?
Who are you?
That sounded like...
Jesus Christ be praised.
Is something troubling you?
I wouldn't say it's troubling me exactly, my boy, but...
What talk might that be?
They say they've heard him chanting when he tempers steel.
Using spells to...
That's what they say.
Maybe he's just praying.
Well,
if it's troubling you, go and have a look for you.
Easy for you to say. Have too much work.
And,
Simple enough. Go there and...
I suppose asking costs...
Just don't ask him outright about any source.
Don't worry, I'm not that daft.
Good, good.
All right. I'll go and...
Good. But be subtle.
God be with you.
I'm looking for a fellow called Riki. Have you ever...
Sure. Why wouldn't I?
Ah, you wouldn't happen to know...
I don't know nothing.
Don't you at least know where he usually goes?
Hynek shows up at home once in a blue moon, so I don't know nothing about...
Your son is about to get into deep shit. I'm trying to find him so I can...
That's nothing new. He's old.
But this time his neck's on the block. He got mixed up with some very dangerous...
All right. He was here a few days ago, but he left right away.
And you don't know where he went?
I've got an idea, but I don't know where it is exactly.
I don't follow.
Hynek makes some money on the side from poaching. He boasted to me a few times about what a great...
Well, it's not much to go on, but it's better. Don't you have any clue at all where his hideout could be? How's that?
Because every time he brought some hides for tanning, and
He had money because he sold the stuff right away?
I suppose. He never kept any of his loot.
Do you know who he sold it to?
No. But the innkeeper came here now and again and gave him coin.
All right. I'll ask at the inn then. What more do you know?
Nothing. I swear to God Almighty, I've said all I know.
Bloody hell. Start using your head or I'll never find Hinek. How much time did he spend?
Well, he came and went at all sorts of hours. I really don't know. Except maybe one thing. He'd come home scratched.
So he probably went through thick woods to get to that place.
Jesus Christ be praised.
going to be a good year for the apples. I reckon we're in for a decent harvest. I'm not so sure about the vegetables, though.
Well, my carrots and radishes are coming along nicely. But something's taken a fancy to some of my apples.
By all means. And the best of it is, that pair of idiots, Prokop and Andre, were walking...
God be with you, good sir.
I want to ask about the courier's son, Hinek.
But ask someone else. They've nothing to do with Riki. He'd only drive my customers away.
Really? I heard...
Who are you, anyway?
A friend of Hinek's. He's gone missing and
I don't know where he is. But if you find the bastard...
I don't give a damn what deals you've been doing together.
What have our deals got to do with where he disappeared to?
More than you think. It's likely Riki is hiding out.
All right. Well, give me your word.
You have my word.
Fine.
I hear Hinek has a hideout in the woods he uses for hunting game.
Not exactly. That is...
But
I happen to know it's a dark place. A cave.
How do you know that?
Whenever Riki was going poaching, he always came to me first for candles and lamp oil. He brought the game skinned and gutted, so we had to have a light for that.
How much game did he bring you?
Not much, a few pieces. There's no great demand here. Sometimes the gentry has something.
And do you know of any mine shafts nearby?
Then there's a mine gallery, and I heard there's one...
Thank you.
You're welcome. Watch you don't break your neck, though. It's rough ground, and you...
It found me. It took me 2 bloody days.
Well, at least you got it done. You could have waited.
The way my back is now, I wish I had waited.
And does no one at all talk?
That harlot Adela hangs around with him, of course.
Harlot?
She works as a bathhouse wet.
God bless.
Ow! Watch where you're going, you know.
Watch where you're going. What the hell are you doing?
I heard you've been seeing Hinek, the tanner's son.
So what? Come to preach at me, have you? That I'm a loose woman, a sinner, that I...
God, no, nothing like that. It's just that you're the only one in the village who sees Hinek.
Aye, I've seen him often enough, but
Where can I find Hinek?
I haven't seen him in the village for a few days. He must have run...
Does he do that often?
From time to time.
What the hell does he get up to there? He goes to the woods from time to time. That smells fishy to me.
What do you mean?
With all the footpads...
But Hinek doesn't have anything to do with...
Oh, really? Then what does he do?
I really don't know what...
Where can I find Hinek?
I haven't seen him in the...
Does he do that often?
From time to time.
What the hell does he get up to? Look, Hinek's my friend, and I really need to know where he is and what he's doing.
But I already told you I don't...
So I suppose he just goes to the woods to pick mushrooms, does he?
Mushrooms, no. More like...
So Hinek is a poacher? That's not...
Well, he was never much of...
Do you know exactly where he goes? Maybe he...
He said he has some hideout in the woods.
I need to know more about that hideout.
I really don't know where it is. I only know when he came back...
I see. How did you know he'd been to the woods?
He always talked about what he caught, and he never came to me at other times.
Do you know who he sold it to?
He never told me straight up.
For sure. Do you know what route he took? At least the general...
I think he usually went through the woodcutter's camp, 'cause he always brought me freshly chopped firewood, and he had wood chips on his boots.
Good.
What are you staring at? The baths are for paying guests, not idlers with nothing better to do.
Jesus Christ. What am I to do? Not that I can expect any use from advice from you. At least, you've no more cares.
Need someone to talk to?
Fuck! Don't kill me. I can explain. I won't tell anyone. I swear. I've no one to tell anyway. Just please don't kill me.
I'm not planning to kill you.
You're not one of Runt's men?
No.
Huh. Then who are you?
That's not important. The important thing is we have a common foe.
Considering all the enemies I have, the odds of that are pretty high.
I'm talking about the gang that raided the Neuhof stud farm. I know you were there.
I was, but I've got nothing in common with those bastards.
I'll take your word for it, providing you tell me what you know.
I don't know why you should care. If it keeps my neck out of the noose, I'll spill the beans.
That Neuhof raid of yours didn't turn out quite as planned, did it?
Depends on whose plan you're talking about. We were up to it to grab some loot and bugger off. Only Runt's cutthroats was there to shed blood.
What do you mean, Runt's cutthroats?
There were two gangs there, mine and Runt's. We was only there to steal, but they wanted to slaughter everyone.
But when you realised what they had in mind, you didn't have to go along with it, did you?
But we didn't know nothing, even though we were going to Neuhof. They told us to keep watch on the courtyard while they were cutting the horses' throats. Jesus, that fucking vexed me. Their horses was the most valuable thing there. When I spoke up, though, Runt gave me such a bollocking I knew I'd better keep my mouth shut. And when they said we was going to kill anything that moved, then we knew there was no going back.
Did you know any of Runt's people?
Not a one. They didn't talk to us at all. None of their faces was familiar either. The only thing I know is they called that huge chief of theirs Runt, and Pius warned us to watch out for him.
I don't suppose you know where they got to after the raid?
On the way to Neuhof, Timmy told me he was at their camp with Pius. I reckon that's where they've gone now.
Did Timmy tell you where the camp is?
Somewhere in the woods. He didn't say nothing more. Thing is, Timmy's got quite an imagination. But Pius roared at him to shut it, so I reckon there must be something in it.
That gang of yours, what can you tell me about them?
Don't know what you want to know. There was 4 of us. Me, Timmy, Limpy Lubosh, and Pius Pava. Sometimes we'd rob a place or hold up pilgrims. Never nothing fancy.
I'm sure you did mischief enough. Who led you?
Pius. He was the oldest, and he'd mostly find the jobs for us, plan them and the like. He got us into that fucking mess in Neuhof, too.
What about the others?
Timmy's strong as an ox, with a brain to match. You got more sense out of a fence post. And Limpy, I've been with him the longest. He's my one and only friend, I suppose.
Who got your 2 gangs together? You must have made contact somehow, right?
Pius. He comes to us and says he's got this prime job. We're going to rob a farm, he says. That was a big deal, because mostly we just did small stuff. Hold up on the road now and then, nothing fancy. When they told us how much we could make on it, well, we just couldn't refuse.
So Pius knew them?
I suppose, but I don't know where from. We even got paid up front. I should have known from the start it was too good to be true.
Where did the rest of your gang end up?
You saw Limpy, right?
Yes, but he's no use to me now. Tell me where I can find Pius or Timmy.
I don't know nothing about Pius. He vanished in the woods, and I haven't seen him since. Timmy, I reckon, went back to the mill where he works.
Which mill?
The windmill a bit north of Neuhof.
Tell me exactly how the raid went down.
Well, we stormed in from the rear. Runt's people started slaughtering the horses. Jesus, that was bleeding horrible. Meanwhile, me and Limpy had a sniff round the stables to see if we could find anything worth pilfering. And in the end, we got lucky.
What did you find?
Smill, Sir Hanish's groom. I don't know why he was up and what he was doing in the stables, but we took advantage of the situation. Limpy grabs him by the throat and I slapped him round to encourage him to tell us where the money was. Then it all fell apart at the seams. Quicker than you'd believe. Runt comes running up and skewers the groom like a pig for roasting. My jaw dropped. I thought the stuff about killing was just tough talk.
And it wasn't?
No, not in the least.
What happened then?
I'm gaping at Smill, stuck through and through, and I noticed this boy standing at the other end of the stables. The stupid sod's pointing at us, jaw hanging down to his knees, saying, "I know you." Runt turns to us and hisses, "Take him down." So me and Lubosh start running, because the lad took to his heels. At the same time, we could hear the noise of the skirmish in the courtyard. We caught up with the boy at the next farmhouse. I knock him to the ground, but he bashes me with some piece of iron so hard my head's ringing like a fucking church bell. Limpy grabs it off him and stands over him with his bodkin in his hand, and I start praying. In the end, Limpy just gives him a kick and says, "Beat it, Ginger." And then Runt shows up at the gate and hollers that we gotta go, so we scarp it.
What happened after the raid?
We were waiting for that fool, Timmy. Same place as we met them before, so he'd know where we were, right? Stupid fucking idea. But Pius didn't want to leave him behind. Only when Timmy finally turned up, 2 of Runt's men were dragging him.
There was some difference of opinion?
You could say that, yeah. They started on us right away that we were traitors. They knew we'd let somebody get away, and now we were going to pay for it. They started trying to surround us, and we knew what was coming. But Limpy took his bodkin and let that fucker have it in the belly.
Runt?
One of the others. Timmy broke free from them, and we all took to our heels. Luckily, they were so buggered from the raid, they didn't follow us for long. They just shouted that they'd find us.
That's all I need to know. So now what do I do with you?
Well?
Hey, over here! It's up the hill. Shh. Chief, found the cave. Shut up, you'll hear.
Oh, shit. Runt's people. We've got to get out of here.
They're too close. We'll never outrun them.
Fuck!
At least they don't know I'm here. The 2 of us can take them by surprise.
No fucking way. I'm gone.
Look here. If you run, they'll catch up with you and kill you. And me too. Together, we stand a better chance.
Jesus Christ. All right. I suppose you're right.
What's going on there? Hey.
All right. Cover.
Welcome, Henry.
What now? Shall we take a walk?
You don't give up, do you? Well, let me think. And where would you care to go?
What if we took a stroll along the river?
Why not? That sounds lovely. Shall we go?
Let's go.
That was a good idea, to go for a walk. Not that I don't like the mill, but you get tired of it. So I'm glad you took me out. I'd love to see the markets in Prague one day. Have you ever been to Prague?
No, I haven't. I have been in Kuttenberg, but Prague must be much bigger.
I've heard it's pretty smelly, though.
Yeah, so many people in one place. So many assholes.
It's disgusting. I'd love to listen to that young preacher, Jan Hus. They say he preaches in the common tongue. Everyone's talking about it.
I bet he's just handsome. That's why the women dote on him.
You're a right one. A preacher doesn't need good looks for people to listen to him.
And what about that fine fellow at St. James? I know full well why all the girls have started going to confession, and you have too, so don't give me any of that.
You scoundrel. Well, all right. I admit I find him handsome. But that doesn't make me a bad Christian.
I'd never dare to suggest such a thing.
Tell you what. Let's not dawdle. Last one is a slimy slug. What is it? That was fun. Sit down here next to me, Hal. And what about you? I heard you're helping Sir Radzig.
Sir Radzig has me running a few errands. I have to say, he always treats me well, and I make a wage.
So you've had your turn of luck. What's it like serving nobility?
I don't know. I suppose it's a job like any other.
I don't believe a word of it. If you ask me, you're loving every minute and you don't want to make me envious.
Now then.
Oh, Henry, what am I going to do with you? Wandering the land, turning innocent girls' heads.
The only one here whose head is all messed up is me. How do you always manage to look so good?
Just look at the lady killer. Where did you learn to talk that way?
I don't recall which church service it was exactly.
You scoundrel. But you certainly know how to make a girl feel special. You may continue. But now I have to go.
Can I go with you?
I don't want to give anyone an excuse to gossip. Maybe another time.